Hello again and welcome to another Warhammer 40k Imperial Guard Basic Tactics video. Now today's video is going to be slightly different because we're not going to be looking at a heavy weapon or a special weapon. We're going to be looking at a piece of equipment, and that piece of equipment is the Vox Caster. It is a unique piece of equipment only found in the Imperial Guard and their sort of offshoot codexes like Death Corps of Krieg and stuff like that. But it is only found in Codex Imperial Guard, essentially. It's a handy little bit of equipment, and we're going to go through the video like normal. We're going to talk about what the Vox Caster is and what it does. We're going to talk about what it combos well with, and then we're also going to talk about where you should really be putting these in your platoon. And we're also going to be sort of discussing how useful are Vox Casters in general. So, first off, what is it? Well, the Vox Caster costs 5 points, and you can give one to each squad, infantry squad, or platoon command squad in your platoon. You cannot give them to heavy weapon squads, and you cannot give them to special weapon squads, or conscripts. You can't give them to anything other than infantry squads and platoon command squads. That makes that nice and simple. Now, what it does is very simple. It's, like I said, it's 5 points, and it simply allows you to re-roll one failed order. And I believe this allows you to ignore incompetent command. I believe it allows you to ignore competent command. So if you get double 6 on your leadership check, you can use a Vox Caster to re-roll that leadership check for your orders. Okay, so it seems quite useful, and it seems very cheap for 5 points. Why wouldn't you take Vox Casters? It's a good question. Although, if many of you have watched my videos, you'll notice that I don't really use them. But that's mostly because you don't really get them on Mordian and Angal ones. You can make them your own, but anyway. Now, Vox Caster, like I said, it can be, so that's what it does. Now, what does it combo well with? Well, what do I mean by combo well? It's not a special weapon, and it's not like a heavy weapon. It combos well with, what it works well with, I should say, is large blobs of infantry. Okay? So, you can take a platoon command squad and then take 5 separate infantry squads, and if you really want to, give each one of those squads a Vox Caster, which means in total you would be paying for 6 Vox Casters, 5 squads plus 1 platoon command squad. And however, now whilst that would give you some tactical flexibility, it would also be a waste of points, because that would cost you 30 points. The better way of doing it is to take your infantry squads, and in theory you could blob them all together into one 50-man blob. But that means you only need to buy one of those 5 squads a Vox Caster. Because when you blob all the guys together, if you read the combined squad special rule, you do this before deployment, and it means that all those units that get combined together essentially count as one unit. So you only need one Vox Caster for all those 50 guys. Very, very efficient way of using orders. Now obviously taking blobs of 50 guys is a bit unwieldy, but the same theory, the same principle still applies to taking blobs of 30 to 40 men. So if you are taking mass infantry, or if you are taking at least 2 or 3 blobs of infantry, and you are dead set on wanting your orders to go off all the time, what you can do is take one Vox Caster per command squad, be it platoon command squad or company command squad, and 1 Vox Caster per blob. This will save you a lot of points. So for example, if we go back to what we were talking about before, if you have 6 Vox Casters spread out across 5 squads and a platoon command squad, that would cost you 30 points. If you want to be efficient and only take 1 Vox Caster platoon command squad, blob all your guys together, and buy 1 more Vox Caster for all 50 men, that would be only 10 points, and that would save you 20 points, which is a Big fucking deal. So, that's what I mean by where it combos well with. Now, now I'll carry on. I'll keep going. Now, what do I mean by where should Vox Casters go? It's fairly obvious because they're very limited in where they can go in your platoon. They can only really go in your platoon command squads and your infantry squads. However, I'm going to expand the scope a little bit and talk about company command squads as well. Now, in my personal opinion, it's not worth buying Vox Casters for your platoon command squads. Okay? Most of the time you'll have your platoon command squads, their orders will be an afterthought. When you think about it, imagine you're running 3 platoons and you're running imagine you're running an army like this. 3 30-man platoons and 2 company command squads. And it doesn't matter what weapons you've got. Let's assume that the platoons have all got things like las cannons and plasma and melta and autocannons. That kind of stuff. Now, a lot of the time, your platoons are going to be shooting at high value targets. You know, that's what we do with our las cannon melta platoons or las cannon plasma platoons. In fact, you know what? Most of the time, what I'm trying to get across here is most of the time your platoons will be using senior officer orders. Things like bring it down. Things like fire on my target. And you have 3 platoons, but you've got 2 company command squads, which means you're able to issue a total of 4 company command squad orders, also known as senior officer orders. Okay? That means you have the opportunity to order each one of your squads with a senior officer order, and you also have 1 spare if you blob up, remember. So that generally means that platoon command squads don't always get to use their orders. What I tend to find is if my platoon command squad orders tend to get used a lot more once either the senior officers have been killed, or if the platoon has started moving up and maybe they're out of range of the senior officer orders. But either way, I do tend to find that platoon commanders are a little bit of an afterthought, which is why you'll often hear me say don't bother taking any upgrades on them. They're really a tax unit and they're better at just ordering themselves to move and throw around the occasional first rank fire, second rank fire. Now some of you will be saying, aha, but what about conscripts? You need those orders. You need to be able to order those guys. This is very true. But guess what? Conscripts can't take Vox Casters. So what you'll tend to find you're doing if you're taking, a company command squad or 2 and, 2 or 3 blobs and maybe some conscripts as well, what you'll tend to find is happening is your regular infantry platoons are receiving senior officer orders and your conscript platoons are receiving junior officer orders. That's what I've found through and through. So, I'm going somewhere with all this, and this is going to pretty much wrap up the video. So, where should you be putting Vox Casters is very simple. You want 1 Vox, if you're going to take them, you want 1 Vox Caster per blob of infantry, and 1 Vox Caster in your company command squads. There's no point in putting them in platoon command squads because platoon commanders will be most of the time ordering your conscripts doing the move, or first rank fire, second rank fire. And when they do this, you can't put Vox Casters in conscript squads anyway, so it's a waste of time. Now, waste of time putting them in your platoon command squads. So, that pretty much covers it. So if you're going to take infantry, if you want to take Vox Casters with them, you might as well put them in your company command squads, not your platoon command squads. Now, Vox Casters split the community down the middle pretty much. Some people swear by them and say they are essential if you're running an infantry army, and some people, and myself included, say they are a luxury often which cannot be afforded. Now, you know what I'm like when if any of you have watched my list reviews, you know I'm always about to squeeze every point. We don't have the luxury of spending points on frivolous upgrades in the Imperial Guard. For for how useful a Vox Caster is, for 5 points to potentially be able to reroll a failed order, that's massive. You know, it is a big deal. But at the same time, think about it. Let's say I'm taking a pure infantry army. Let's say I'm looking at 4 or 5 blobs of guardsmen. You know, let's assume I'm taking 4 or 5 blobs of guardsmen. I've got to give each one of those blobs of guardsmen a Vox Caster, which is going to be about 20 points. And then I have to give the senior command squads them as well, which equals 30 points. And then, if I was going mad on the Vox Casters, even though I've said, just bear with me, and then I have to start putting them on platoon command squads, which is another 20 points. I'm looking at 50 to 60 points. And that's if I blob up efficiently. Imagine if I'm taking lots of small individual squads. If I'm taking lots of small individual squads and I start putting Vox Casters on everyone, you could easily start getting into 100 points plus for Vox Casters. Whilst individually Vox Casters are only 5 points, a lot of newer Imperial Guard players fall into the trap of giving them to every squad. This is a bad thing to do. Okay, this is why it splits a lot of people down the middle, because a lot of them say the points add up, and I myself am included in that group. Also, what you have to remember is in each one of those blobs, we're probably going to be taking a Leadership 9 model, either a Commissar or a Primaire Psyker, or maybe even like a Librarian. But anyway, what I'm saying is you're going to be taking a high leadership model. That kind of means you don't need the Vox Casters. Imagine if you're running, if you're running Leadership 9 Commissars in every squad, you've got a pretty high chance. You've got a 75% chance of passing every order. And considering you've got plenty of orders to fly around, because you've got your junior officers and you've got your senior officers, most of my armies, I'll have 4 to 5 blobs, but I'll have the ability to issue 8 orders. That essentially means I have just under 2 orders per blob. So do I really need Vox Casters? When you think about it, do I really need them? Because I have 2 opportunities to cast every order that I want to. Imagine if I've got 2, I've talked about this in my last video, 2 Plas blobs and 2 conscript blobs. Well, each senior officer has 2 opportunities to issue an order to each one of those blobs, and then my conscripts have also got the opportunity for an order each as well. But if conscripts don't accept orders, who gives a shit? What I'm trying to get across is that in a pure infantry army, a lot of the time you'll already be taking plenty of advisors that will be boosting your leadership, which will mean you'll be passing your orders the majority of the time anyway. So do you really need to start paying 50 to 100 points for your Vox Casters? Honestly, like I said, some people swear by them, some people don't use them. I haven't used Vox Casters in years, and I can't say I've really missed them. But there has been, probably happens once a week, once every 2 weeks, there is a moment when I go, really wish I had a Vox Caster then, I really need that order to go through. That has happened. And again, I have lost a game based on the fact that an order hasn't gone through, because it was a really close competitive game. It has happened. But it's once a month, tops. It's not a big deal. Out of all the games I play, So there you go. That is pretty much it. One honourable mention is if you are going a pure infantry army and you want all your orders to go off without fail, please, please, please consider the Emperor's Shield Infantry Company as part of a Cadian battle group. Because if you go and watch my video that I did on the Emperor's Shield Infantry Company, I explain how that formation within that detachment basically means you never fail an order, because in the Emperor's Shield Infantry Company, when you are in a Cadian detachment, you roll 3d6 and pick the 2 lowest dice for orders. I once took that formation to a tournament. I played 6 games. I didn't fail a single order, and I was issuing 5 to 6 orders a turn. That's a lot of orders when you think about it. I didn't fail a single one. So if you really want a pure infantry army and you want your orders to go off, consider that formation in that detachment. Okay, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know it's a bit long-winded, but I like to cover the ins and outs of these little bits of equipment, and I like to give you guys all the options. So apologies if this has gone on a bit, but I have tried to give you all the information at once. I'll tell you what would be really interesting. If you guys post down in the comments whether you think Vox Casters are worth it or not, if you've stopped using them, if you've noticed the difference, or if you started using them and noticed the difference. I'm pretty interested to see the current feeling of Vox Casters from within the Imperial Guard community. I'm pretty interested about that. So, feel free to put a comment down at the bottom just going over what you think about them. But thank you guys for listening, and I'll see you guys next time.